round 13, and we have two incredible players lined up here preparing their decks.
Yeah, familiar face there on the left,
very.
without a doubt, Azul Griego, one of the absolute best players in the world and a fan favorite, without a doubt, one of the most popular players in the game. And he's going to be going this round up against Cameron Shenoy. These players both coming from the US all the way to Australia, traveling thousands of miles just to play a game they probably could have played back home a little bit more efficiently. But of course, the stakes are at their highest at this point. Prize cards going down for both of these players. We see the matchup, Azul Griego, of course, on his Lost Box deck. We featured him yesterday.
Yep.
Cameron Shenoy playing the VikaVolt. We saw VikaVolt round one from Christian Hasbani, but have not had it back up on camera for ever since then. So
yeah, actually.
Another showing from it here, and we'll see how this matchup plays out. It's definitely a close one, right? It can go either way, but you got to give a little bit of an edge to the VikaVolt player. VikaVolt is so good against these Lost Box decks, being able to lock the item cards, lock up a Comfey for a turn, and leave your opponent with very few options. We'll see how Azul navigates it, though, because he is, without a doubt, one of the best players in the world, and we'll see what he can do to mitigate and play around those potential paralyzing bolts from his opponent.
Absolutely. So let's get straight into this game. Kicking off our Swiss round 13, Azul versus Cameron in this. And we are starting over here on Cameron's side. An obvious, very great Pokemon to start here, that Mysterious Tail Mew going into the deck as well, kicking off the turn with a Quick Ball. And
Great
discarding
start.
that Drapion
Yeah,
too.
Drapion going down, a Pokemon that's not going to be useful for you at all in this matchup. And Cameron will take a moment to check the prize cards and try to be aware of what he has access to and doesn't. To make note of that one VikaVolt being prized without a doubt. He does, of course, have the second one in the deck that will likely be the target from this Quick Ball. Could be a Radiant Greninja to try to draw some cards depending on the strength of the hand, but it looks like VikaVolt is likely to be the choice.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this could get really sticky real quickly, I'm sure, depending on what happens here in the initial turn for Cameron. Because, again, like you mentioned, Chip, once that VikaVolt starts rolling, things start to slow down quite a bit here for Azul's side. There's so many item cards that are in Azul's deck, and if you're not able to play those, things will probably not go your way, depending on what's going to happen here. But I assume Azul has prepped for this match, so I think it's still going to be a great one here. Cameron eyeing up the hand, have a Cape of Toughness, two cross switchers in the hand. Still have that Mysterious Tail, which we're going to be seeing right now. Top 6 cards of the deck, and you get to choose an item card, speaking of them, from those top 6.
Undoubtedly looking for a Battle VIP pass. Can only play it on this first turn, but I don't see one there in that hand just yet. Does play 3 copies of the card.
Yep, that would have definitely been a quick, easy grab there, but still establishing the board save. VikaVolt did get that Speed Lightning Energy attachment for turn, so drew another 2 cards off that. And it's going to be the Lost Vacuum drawn out there off of that Mysterious Tail for Cameron.
Yeah, and something to note as well, Cameron is not playing Aerodactyl in this deck. That's been a pretty common pair with the VikaVolt more recently. Instead, Cameron is opting to play a couple copies of Path to the Peak, which in this matchup is actually something that could be relevant, as it will shut off Azul's Radiant Greninja. And we've seen for these Lost Box decks how important Radiant Greninja is to get through the deck.
Yeah, that is definitely a staple Pokemon that we see in so many decks. That Radiant Greninja is incredibly great for consistency, getting those last cards you may need. It's already in the hand, I believe, there for Azul as well. So we're passing back over to Azul's side.
It's a tough choice. The Dragonite V and that Battle VIP pass. Dragonite V is a really solid option into the VikaVolt from Cameron's side. It does a ton of damage. It has a ton of HP. But Azul has not had an opportunity to set up yet, so he really did value that Battle VIP pass. It didn't take him too long to make that decision, but it is definitely tough to see the Dragonite go so early.
Absolutely. It has been such a powerful inclusion into these decks. But here we go. We are going to see some Comfeys come out to start selecting those flowers on Azul's side. And really, we need to see a lot of progression from this turn from Azul, because if we're going to be dealing with being locked up here in the later turns, Azul's going to need to figure things out real quick here on this first turn.
Grabbing a couple Comfey. I do think the Radiant Greninja is already in the hand, so that'll be really nice for Azul.
Very
if he
nice
can find
indeed.
an energy for sure, that would be excellent as well. A couple comfes means that we are likely to see the chain together of a bunch of flower selectings, and if Azul can find a Cramorant as well, we could see a turn 1 knockout on this Mew from Cameron, kind of trying to stunt the setup, force the VikaVolt active, maybe before Cameron would want it otherwise.
Yeah, also just take a quick prize card. Always good to be leading in the prize cards as well. But first, we're going to see a lot more flower selectings come into play after an escape rope. So that VikaVolt B is going to come into the active instead here and into another comfey.
Yeah, it looks like we got a broken sleeve here on Azul's side. He wants to get that fixed up pretty quickly, but yeah, so it looks like a little bit of a discussion. Judge is maybe just going to swap a sleeve with a card from the discard pile. This is something we see pretty often from, you know, in the situations of let's just make this sleeve change right now, get through this game, and then between games we'll address and find another sleeve. Use a sleeve from a card that's in the lost zone that's not going to be interacted with once again, get a fresh sleeve on there, and yeah, we'll keep it rolling. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense to me. Can I just say the coordination from Azul, top tier here. I'm sure happy to have another Play Pokemon shirt.
The red shirt, the red sleeves. No red
the
Pokemon.
Red chair.
No red Pokemon in his deck, though.
Oh, lame.
Couldn't quite pull it all together. The red Battle VIP pass, though, right?
True. That flower on the comfey is red, you know?
We're really
a little bit of a stretch.
Here, yeah. All of the Pokemon that have an ability have red text on them.
Yeah, abilities are red.
Yes.
All right, here we go. So we have 2 now in the lost zone for Azul, but that's going to be a little bit more here off of a 3rd flower selecting for the turn.
Yeah, still missing that Colress. Still missing Colress is the thing he would love to hit here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Going second. It's always nice having some more cards that you can get into that lost zone with the Colress. There's only 3 right now, but that's not going to be enough to get a Cram attack off. So here we go. Let's see what we can get off of this Radiant Greninja, concealed cards, discarding the Water Energy, drawing 2. I think it was a Boss.
Yeah, Boss.
And a Sableye.
Yeah, looks like that was the grab. And Azul does have a Bird Keeper in hand, so he does have a supporter to play. And Bird Keeper kind of works as a pseudo 5th Colress in this deck from time to time, if you can switch between some comfeys. But in this specific instance, Azul has already used all 3 comfeys that are in play. So, you know, sure, he could use Bird Keeper to go into one, but it's not going to be able to be utilized.
Absolutely. So opting to just switch into the Sableye instead. And then, of course, drawing those 3. Oh, the first one being that Colress. So just missed it. You hate to see it. But, of course, these players can only play 1 supporter per turn. And that has already happened with that Bird Keeper.
Yeah, Azul's going to be in a tough spot here. Cameron's going to start using that Paralyzing Bolt next turn and put on the item lock, make it so Azul can't play those scoop up nets, the switch carts, and the key Mirage Gate as well. So while he can, Azul will take this opportunity to play a quick ball, ditch that Drapion, try to find something else. Is there an Aura being eyed up? Which is interesting. It could deal a decent bit of damage to this VikaVolt if Azul can get an energy on it now, find a Lightning next turn potentially, but it's not really what you would expect to see being grabbed whenever you're facing down a VikaVolt.
Yeah, absolutely. The Dragonite, who is our alternate attacker, already gone into the lost zone there. So Zeraora is going to be the one picked up off of this quick ball, though.
Yep, Fighting Lightning would allow him to deal 110 damage to a VikaVolt, but that doesn't even set up for a 2-hit knockout thanks to the Cape of Toughness on Cameron's active. So, like, I mean, theoretically, if there was no Cape of Toughness, Azul could go Fighting Lightning into a Cramorant, spit innocently, and take 2 prizes. He's not going to be able to do it here.
Absolutely, yeah, that Cape of Toughness buffing the HP plus 50 fits so well into the VikaVolt deck for sure because of that exact situation you're talking about, Chip. So playing the item cards out for Azul, but still kind of in a rough position. At least has the Colress for next turn. But yeah, this is could be really sticky down the line here for Azul.
Thinking of playing this Ordinary Rod in his hand before he won't be able to, since that item lock is going to come out. So, I mean, Azul's one of the most intelligent players in the game, so he's going to think through it. He does have Choice Belt in his hand. I didn't see that there. That's something that could boost the damage and maybe try to help him get to a 2-hit knockout. I don't think, let's see, it doesn't quite work out still. 220 plus 30, 250. Yeah, that's going to be 10 short of the VikaVolt. It's got 260 HP effectively with that cape.
That cape. Absolutely. So Yep, here we go. That Ordinary Rod was played there before. It is not able to be played in the future turns thanks to that VikaVolt. Azul now attaching
Wait, hold on a second. We're seeing a scratch.
Are you for real? That's 20 damage off of that scratch here from the Sableye.
Hey.
Or sorry, no, because the Choice Belt, which boosts the damage to 50 on that VikaVolt V. So that is just chipping away here at that VikaVolt. Wow. You know, you said it, Chip. Azul is one of the most intelligent and skillful players in the game. And when you scratch, you scratch.
And Azul has gone for scratch. And Cameron has gone for the double cross switcher. An excellent grab. I mean, Sableye is kind of annoying, honestly, for Cameron to deal with because he can't lock it active with the Zapdos, you know, do 60 damage to it, and then KO it next turn with a Galarian Zigzagoon like he can with a Comfey.
Yeah.
You know, that's usually the play he's going to go for. Deal 60, and then Zigzagoon, ping, deal 10 more to get 2 prizes effectively in a turn when he shouldn't. Otherwise, Azul was trying to maybe get around that by pushing up the 80 HP Sableye. Not going to be an option now, though, since Cameron was able to find double cross switcher.
Yep, I think it was already in the beginning hand, actually. So, or it was searched out last hand or something like that. But we did see that mysterious tail there. Grabbing a Trekking Shoes off of the top 6 cards. Thanks to that little Mew.
Yep, can keep on getting through the deck. Trekking Shoes is such a great card in these kind of more turbo Mew-built lists.
What was the card, though?
Yeah, it looks like a tough choice, yeah.
Cameron can either keep this card or choose to discard it and get the next card off the top.
Oh, looks like it's Hisuian Heavy Ball is the card that Cameron is debating. He knows that a VikaVolt is prize.
True.
So it is risky to lose this because he's only got one VikaVolt to work with.
Choosing to lose it, though. I think the VikaVolt was at the top, too, of the prize card.
I think so.
That could be rough down the line, but we'll have to see what happens. Discarding that Hisuian Heavy Ball into the next card.
Thinking of playing another one. Looks like it is a Scoop Up Net being played. Does just need one more energy on this VikaVolt in order to attack with the Paralyzing Bolt. Would love to find Zapdos this turn as well, but I don't see either of those 2 cards in this hand currently.
Nope, but here is that Galarian Zigzagoon. So when it is played down, that Headbutt happens, this Tantrum Headbutt to put 10 damage onto that active Comfey.
Yeah, kind of interesting to see it being utilized now. Often we'll see that Zigzagoon be used after an attack has happened, but I think Cameron just wanted to thin it out of the hand before going for this Judge, as he's only going to get 4 cards off of this. So get rid of the Zigzagoon, make sure it's not in your deck so you don't draw into it. And if you do happen to draw into Zapdos plus an energy card, you don't have to put the Zapdos down, right? You can still lock up the Comfey for a turn and then maybe find a Scoop Up Net later. Yeah,
as let's say, always scoop it up later. But we are seeing the Judge here, so both players shuffle their hands into their decks and draw into 4 cards. So let's see what 4 Cameron still has to work with for the rest of this turn.
Yeah, looking for an energy. That is the piece he's missing, and he was able to find a couple basic water energies, actually. So really, really good. Trekking Shoes is looking at one more.
I know, I didn't see it either.
Another tough decision, it seems.
Oh, an energy search here. Opting to discard it, though, and take the next card, and that is an air balloon. That can come in pretty handy for pivoting out of situations, especially on that Mew. But here we go. There's that 3rd energy attachment or turn here onto that VikaVolt V, and we are starting the rollout of the Paralyzing Bolt here. So deal 50 damage, but also lock your opponent out of being able to play item cards.
Flower selecting being used by Azul. Pretty happy to send a battle VIP pass to the Lost Zone right away.
Easy peasy.
Cameron's hand is not good. He's got a Water Energy and a Raikou in hand, a Raikou V. Yeah. So not much working with, but if you're item locking your opponent and they're not finding enough to really deal with and answer your VikaVolt, you don't mind it too terribly much.
Yeah, every time I see VikaVolt V played, it's kind of like you're just hoping that you are stalling your opponent enough to reset up your board, because you can also get into some interesting situations or some clunky hands, and that's exactly what's happening here. All Azul did for that turn, because of the lack of item cards, was just a flower selecting and pass back to Cameron.
Cameron does have the Raikou, like we mentioned. Could put it down and get an energy on it so that he has an alternate attacker once this VikaVolt goes down, but it's not really what you want to be attacking with in this matchup. Oh, no, Cameron's about to draw a card. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Cameron took a knockout, and he's meant to take a prize card when that
Not
happens.
but a card off, yeah.
Yeah, just reached up and drew a card instead. And I think Azul, I mean, I know in these spots, Azul... Yeah, I think Azul is probably saying this is not a big deal, but oftentimes this will result in a penalty for the player, and the judges may issue one here. Azul is, I think, probably honestly trying to plead for Cameron. I know Azul is not a fan of taking prize cards or like receiving penalties that he doesn't think would have mattered, and that's really kind of a silly one. So
yeah, Azul's looking out for him,
Azul is
nice.
definitely a great sport for sure. But yeah, it is ultimately going to be up to the judges to decide what happens from this. It's interesting, I feel like every time, it's always confusing when the player is playing with their deck on the other side that I'm used to seeing on the stream, so I can completely understand how this might happen as well.
Right, yeah, Cameron's playing with the deck on the left side of the board as opposed to the right, and he's used to drawing his prize cards probably from the left side of his board. So
that's what I'm saying, because our prize card camera is on the right, so maybe the player chooses to switch things around a little bit, but I'm sure we'll get this resolved very soon.
Yep, judges are going to make the appropriate ruling. I mean, I'm guessing that this is probably going to result in a 2 prize card penalty for Cameron the way it is being discussed. So that will mean Azul needs to take 2 less prize cards. And I mean, even though Azul's a good sport, he doesn't really want to see it happen like that. I mean, it's kind of a situation where, you know, when we're talking about round 13 of an IC, these are the situations where things kind of have to go like this from time to time in order for you to make a deep run in an event, especially when you're facing a matchup that's a little questionable. You know, if you can maybe run away with a game that you only have to take 4 prize cards to win, that all of a sudden puts this matchup from maybe 60-40 all the way back to 50-50, putting Azul right back in it.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to sit back and say, well, I guess we take those, you know. I really like that little mascot there on the field, Chip. You see that little buddy?
The Arceus sitting there cheering Cameron on.
You gotta love those sitting cuties. On the break here, Chip, I actually pre-ordered that Jumbo Whaler plush.
Oh my goodness. Boo, where the heck are you gonna put that thing?
I have zero idea. Listen, we just make the decisions here and we deal with it later, okay? It's just a pre-order, all right? It's going to take a couple months. I'll find a space.
You've got time to figure it out.
I still have the Jumbo Altaria on the way for myself as well, so I have no idea where I'm going to put these plushies,
Boo,
but hey.
You have a problem, and we may need to talk about it.
We'll deal with that off-stream, Chip, I'm sure.
So we got our one of our head judges, Will Post, up there kind of making the ruling, helping speed this along and getting these judges figuring things out. And I think the result here, it looks like it's going to be a reveal the card to both players. It looks like it may have been something relevant as these guys are kind of laughing about it.
Oh, no.
And now that card will be shuffled back into the deck.
All right.
And we will get confirmation, but this should be a 2 prize card penalty, and there will also most likely be a time extension as well.
Yeah, most definitely. But we also did have to see, of course, that prize card taken for Cameron because there was that knockout there. So we did get the correct card drawn here. And now we are back over onto Azul's side of the field.
So now Azul kind of has to adjust his thinking, right? He now all of a sudden needs to take 2 less prize cards to win this game.
We didn't do an adjustment.
So with that being considered, he may have to change his game plan on the fly kind of. And that's one of the places where we see some of the best players, you know, make those adjustments as necessary and find ways to come back in games they maybe shouldn't have otherwise.
Absolutely. All right, so we are just passing back over to Cameron's side of the field now. Lots of damage here now on that VikaVolt V being chipped away at here, and we are just progressing through this turn. So what is in the hand here, Chip, on Cameron's side?
Yeah, I see that Zapdos now. I see a Quick Ball as well, so that could be useful maybe to find out another support Pokemon. Usually these VikaVolt decks will be playing some Crobat, Luminion, and it looks like Cameron does have one of each in his list. So either of those could be grabbed out here. Does choose to ditch that Lost Vacuum, however.
Yep, Lost Vacuum could have discarded a Tool card or a Stadium card, but being discarded now to that Quick Ball to draw another Pokemon out of the deck here.
Yep, so just total confirmation was a double prize penalty, double prize loss awarded to Cameron, so Azul will have to take 2 less prizes, and it will also be a 3-minute time extension added for both these players, which we should now see reflected on our clock.
All right, there we go. So time has been added here. Prize cards will be redded out here in the future as well. And that Radiant Greninja is being drawn out of the deck here and placed straight down onto the bench to hop right into that concealed cards, discarding that water energy, drawing into 2 cards for the hand.
Couple cards being added, yep, and we'll see if it gives Cameron something to work with. With a second VikaVolt being prized, he's got to start to figure out where his next attacker is coming in, and you really do rely on VikaVolt in this deck. From time to time, we'll see Ditto V being an inclusion here, being able to use that V transformation ability to swap it with a Pokemon V from your discard pile, but instead of playing that card, Cameron is actually playing just a second copy of the Raikou.
Absolutely. So pivoting into this Mew that still has that mysterious tail ability here.
And that was with a switch cart as well, which actually had some relevant healing happen here. Reduced the damage on that VikaVolt by 30, so now it's up to 110 hit points. That's going to let it hang around just a little bit longer.
Yeah, I feel like we get switch carts so often played, but it is kind of rare we see the heal from it, so that's nice to see off of that card here. Okay. Oh, was the only card, the Battle VIP off the Mysterious Tail? Had to have been.
I think I saw a Forest Sealstone, but can't really utilize it because there's a Cape of Toughness already on the VikaVolt.
Very true, yeah.
So just grab that Forest Sealstone. Maybe there's a, grab that Battle VIP pass, which should go to the hand, by the way. I think, Azul.
Oh, yes, Azul handed it right back.
Azul is on it for sure.
Yeah, I think, the collision there of picking up the discard pile to hand to Azul and also having the card there. But here we go. Zapdos still in the hand here, now being played onto the bench. That Zapdos is fantastic in this deck with that ability that boosts 10 more damage done to your opponent's active Pokemon when you attack.
Yep, we'll put that Zeraora up to 60. Cameron's holding off on putting down Raikou or putting any other energy in play. He did have a Speed Lightning in hand, could have attached to the Zapdos. Tried to get to the Electric Ball in a couple of turns because he should be expecting this VikaVolt to go down, and he knows he doesn't have another one, so maybe he's just hanging on here and hoping to take the VikaVolt off of his prizes here, potentially.
Yeah. Electric Ball, what a move. That 110 damage definitely can be very relevant, not just for the ability, that's for sure. But we are just going to see more and more damage here being stacked onto that VikaVolt V from the Zeraora on Azul's side of the field. Back over to Cameron here for the turn. Of course, these abilities are going to reset on the benched Pokemon. So Cameron has some options here, but really it's going to come down to what cards are in the hand that we can sort of play off of.
And it looks like Raikou V will be the choice, drawing 2 from the Speed Lightning for now.
Yep, placed onto there, drawing those 2 cards because of that electric Pokemon here, the lightning Pokemon.
Does find a Quick Ball and another Mew, it looks like. So Quick Ball could get rid of that Battle VIP pass, thin that out of the deck.
True.
Because also he'll just hold this for the turn, see what you draw next turn, see what you get off your prize card. But as it stands, this may be Cameron's last turn of Paralyzing Bolt. I think he's really hoping to find VikaVolt here, and it's going to be sad to see us scoop up net instead.
Absolutely. Yeah, the VikaVolt still sitting at the top of the prize cards there, so could be potentially the last prize card taken. So that is going to be rough. And as we already saw, that Hisuian Heavy Ball is in the discard pile as well for Cameron.
And Scratch being utilized for a KO. I think that's got to be a first for me, Boo. Sableye does take plenty of knockouts, but it's not too often it does it with Scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially seeing the Scratch 2 times in this game so far. Taking that knockout there on that VikaVolt V. So Azul is going to go down 2 prize cards. And Chip, that means only 2 prize cards are left for Azul to be drawn to win this game.
Cameron will see the top 6 here with Mysterious Tail, looking for some help. Does need 1 more energy onto that Raikou V on the bench. I think he does have a Lightning in hand to work with at least. He does also have that Path to the Peak in hand. That's something he could put down at some point to try to slow down Azul's Radiant Greninja. Though Azul has not been drawing very many cards, though Azul has been able to cobble together a few attacks, he's really not done too much.
Yeah, that is definitely true, but still definitely being helped out there by that penalty. So we'll see how the rest of this game turns out. But here we go, Forest Seal Stone.
Yep, that added to the hand that can go onto that Raikou, and we could see it fetch out any card from Cameron's deck. Anything he might want to add to hand.
So did your fleet-footed.
That could help him. The problem here becomes you're not item locking Azul anymore, and that means that he is just a few cards in the Lost Zone away from playing a Mirage Gate.
You should have fleet-footed
first. Which means it's not too unreasonable to see this Raikou potentially even go down this turn to something like a Snorlax with a Choice Belt.
Also interesting to see the path to the peak put in play, which means fleet-footed wasn't utilized either for Cameron on that turn.
Yeah, a little bit of a misstep there from Cameron. You always want to try to utilize those abilities when you can, so he could have done that before he put the path in play, but you know, it's sometimes you're just under the lights. You forget simple things as small as just drawing one extra card.
Absolutely, but hey, that path to the peak is out of play now because Azul just bumped it for that training court. So each of our players are going to be able to retrieve basic energy from their discard pile and just put it right back into their hands.
Yep, and Azul's having a debate here between the Capture Energy and the Hisuian Heavy Ball, and I do think that Snorlax was in the prizes, so Hisuian Heavy Ball can fetch that out now, and that's going to be a way that Azul can try to close out the game this turn. He's up to 5 cards in the Lost Zone currently. If he can find a Colress, a Mirage Gate, a Choice Belt, and a switching card, he'll just close out the game with Thumping Snore.
Yeah, I've been saying it all weekend so far, Chip. That Snorlax is the MVP here. Thumping Snore, Unfazed Fat, 150 HP. It's just the perfect combination for some absolutely incredible plays. We have 6 cards now into the Lost Zone here.
And I think this is going to be it. Yeah, Azul is going to get an energy card off of this. He's got a Mirage Gate. He's got Snorlax, and he even has Choice Belt already in hand. He didn't even need to find Colress. He's got everything he needs to close this one out, assuming there is enough energy in the deck. That might be the one thing to consider, and I think that's what Azul is counting here. There are quite a few in the discard pile. You'd hate to play Mirage Gate and only see 1 energy in your deck.
Oh, yes. That is definitely a misstep you do not want to make at all.
Looks like he's checked, though.
Yeah, here we go. Mirage Gate.
Oh, and there is only one in the deck. Azul is forced to just grab 1 energy, put it onto this Snorlax. I think he does still have a Comfey in hand. He does still have some switching cards, so we could see Flower Selecting try to find the energy recycler because there is also another Mirage Gate in the hand, so he can still get out of this spot. And honestly, maybe if you know there's only 1 Psychic Energy in the deck, it's still correct to pull it out here if you're going for the win because you don't want to draw into it off of another Flower Selecting.
Yeah, we need to see some way to recycle some energy here on this turn. So really, Energy Recycler or Ordinary Rod. Battle
Colress
VIP
can be played still as well.
Here we go, here we go.
5 cards to find Recycler or Rod.
Ooh, one more
card, and he doesn't find it.
Just a quick ball on that last card. 2 of these cards are going to be hitting that Lost Zone, but wow, such a missed opportunity, unfortunately, for Azul here. Not being able to get enough energy, having the ability to get it onto the field, but it's just not in the deck, unfortunately. Just so many energy sitting in that discard pile.
Yeah, I think Azul's kind of stalled out here. I'm not sure that he can even win this turn anymore. I think his dig has ended at this point, so now we've got to try to pivot and think about what else we want to do. Can't even attack with something like the Sableye here because there's already been that Mirage Gate played. I don't know if Azul has used the training court, so if there's a Psychic Energy
I'm not sure
in the discard, he can get 1 more back like that.
There for sure is a Psychic Energy. I saw it in there, but I don't know if the training court has been utilized yet. It was played very early. I think it was the first action taken in the turn. But
I think Azul does have 1 more Comfey he can use. He's got Switch Cart and he's got Air Balloon in hand. I don't think he has manually retreated this turn yet, so.
All right, here we go, Flower Selecting. Oh, there we go, Ordinary Rod.
And Azul slams it down right away. He knows that's all he needs. Put the 2 cards back, Mirage Gate, Choice Belt, Air Balloon, and that is GG's.
Yeah, Azul GG's, might I add. There we go. Azul Garcia, or Griego, taking that first game here. Absolutely phenomenal. Of course, we did have that small little penalty there that helped out a bit, so quicker game than maybe we would have seen otherwise, but still Azul handled that absolutely flawlessly. Got a little bit sticky there, Chip, at the end.
Yeah,
but here we go. That ordinary rod was drawn out by that last Comfey, and we got there.
Yeah, I have to say I'm not sure how big of a deal the prize penalty ended up being, just because of the fact that regardless of it, Cameron didn't have the second VikaVolt. He wasn't able to continue the item lock streak. He was forced to attack with Raikou regardless, and in that spot, Azul would have gone down to 2 prizes left. He still had tons of resources to just try to Sableye and target down some of those low HP Pokemon on the bench to close out this game. So I think Azul was in a really good position regardless of what Cameron could have done there, even if that prize penalty did not come through for him.
Yep, absolutely. All right, here we go. We are prepping for a game 2 here now between our players. Let's see if we can get some nice clean play here. I'm sure Cameron is not going to be making that same mistake we saw before on the stream. Of course, so easy to do if you have to switch around the way your field is laid out, where you put your deck and your prize cards and your discard pile. But hey, I think the players are focused up here, and we're going to have a really clean, nice game 2.
Yeah, looking forward to this. We'll see if Cameron can find a way to fight back, and he will have gotten to choose in this game if he wants to go first or second. And oftentimes this VikaVolt deck does want to go second. You want to try to go for the turn 1 item lock. And it honestly makes me wonder, thinking back to game 1, Cameron went first. I wonder if Azul won the flip and chose to go second.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. So here we go. Both players setting up their hands here, drawing 7 cards. Of course, we are going to have to see a basic Pokemon from both of our players to kick off the rest of this setup here. Let's see if we can see a nice little Mew start here from Cameron. I believe that's exactly what I saw in the hands there. And let's check out these prize cards.
Yeah, Forest Sealstone being there, not the best. Raikou, Path to the Peak, nothing terrible for Cameron, and really nothing terrible for Azul either. 1 Mirage Gate could be something to keep track of, but it is down there, like we always talk about, at the bottom of the prizes.
Just a bunch of item cards that you probably won't even be able to play, potentially, you know, whatever. Here we go. Kicking off the start of our game 2 in our round 13 right now. Azul, Garcia, Griego gonna kick this off here with a Battle VIP pass, going straight for that Radiant Greninja and that Comfey, 2 staples of this deck.
And has started the Snorlax.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's good to have him play. It's kind of awkward to have in the active, though. It's got a big 4 retreat cost, so you're going to have to burn one of your switch carts or scoop up nets on it, get it up out of there so you can get into a Comfey. But having it in play is actually really solid because it can do a lot of damage to a VikaVolt that is otherwise going to be difficult to deal with.
Yep, but here we go. Yeah, definitely having it in play is very nice, but you don't want it to be a liability either. It's so beefy with that HP. You don't want it to be dwindled down over time until you really get the full utilization out of it. So here we go. Azul, Garcia, Griego kicking off our turn 1, shuffling up here. Did you get to see what was in the hand at all, Chip?
Not quite yet. We're going to get a good look here, though. Looks like there is a couple of energy cards that he'll be able to discard with that Radiant Greninja. Does have a scoop-up net as well, so Snorlax will be picked up here pretty shortly. And that is an excellent draw there off the Greninja. 2 scoop-up nets for Azul.
Ooh, does that make 3 in hand as well? Well, that's a perfect way to get that Snorlax right out of the active. We're seeing our first flower selecting between the Water Energy or that Cramorant, and opting to go with the Cram, which is so important in these earlier turns.
And I think we're going to see 3 nets being burned on turn 1 for Azul. Now he gets a second use of that Radiant Greninja since it got added to the hand. He's got that Comfey back in the active, and he was off of the concealed cards, able to draw into another Comfey and a Capture Energy as well.
Absolutely, and now we're going to see another flower selecting here. Comfey entering into the Lost Zone here. So 2 cards now in the Lost Zone.
I think Azul would have liked to have gotten 3 cards in the Lost Zone this turn so that next turn he could flower select and get to 4 and then attach an energy and retreat to Cramorant, so that way he could get some damage on to a VikaVolt, but don't think he's going to be able to pull it off right here. And the Dragonite's actually hitting the discard pile, so maybe not something Azul wants to worry about here in this matchup. Yeah,
maybe not a strategy that's going to be established here in the game, but hey, that Zeraora is coming out again for sure. We saw that in the last game, and Azul's going for that once again with that Quick Ball.
Yep, does grab out the Zero Aura. Not an attacker you expect to see against a deck that is not Lugia, that is not weak to lightning at least. And Azul is making use of it in both of the games here so far.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you slot a Pokemon into your deck so that they do some work for you. And that Zero Aura is definitely doing some work here. Attaching the Capture Energy to it. Of course, that's one of the two needed for that Zero Aura, and then we're just shuffling up after retrieving that Cramorant.
Yep, Cramorant will go to the bench here, get it in the into play out of the deck. Azul does already have another Cramorant, but doesn't really need anything else out of the deck, so might as well use that Capture Energy and effectively thin the Cramorant out. We're actually going to see both Cramorants coming down. Not too often you see two Cramorants in play for this Lost Box deck.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But here we go. We got a lot of spit innocently here on the field. Debating whether or not to put that Snorlax down, but going to opt for that Comfey instead. Of course, this is a full bench now, so you really have to prioritize your bench space. And there's two Crams already out there. So here we go. We're over here on Cameron's side of the field now. Let's see what can happen in this first turn. Starting off with the Trekking Shoes.
And right away, a tough choice. Sees a Cross Switcher. Does choose to discard it. Does play 4 copies, so we'll have at least the option to still pull off one combination of those 2 cards. But it's always tough to have to just get rid of that right away on the first turn.
Yeah, it's funny. The Trekking Shoes is almost like a flower selecting, but you don't know the other card, you know, that you're going to get.
Sure.
So it's kind of interesting to see. But here we go, jumping into that Mysterious Tail. Hisuian Heavy Ball going to come out of the Mysterious Tail.
Yeah, it was the only target there. So Cameron can play that, and he'll get full knowledge of what he's got prized and what he does and doesn't have access to this game. I don't think there was any VikaVolts prize. I do believe there was a Raikou V, though, so that can be fetched out here.
Yeah, and like you said, Chip, just having that knowledge of what else is in your prize cards without having to have the mental fatigue of searching through your entire deck to search out what's missing is always a huge benefit as well. You can clear up a little bit of that mental space to focus more on your strategy throughout the game. So here we go. Prize cards being shuffled back and then placed down. Of course, that Hisuian Heavy Ball replacing that Raikou that was chilling there before.
We do see a couple of Quick Ball in the hand for Cameron. Or is it just one? Yeah, might be able to thin down a little bit. Could fetch out that Radiant Greninja to try to draw some cards with the concealed cards.
Another happy little Mew joining us on the bench there.
Has a couple Raikou, but no VikaVolt yet, so it's a little awkward to try to map this out. Will just be the Mysterious Tail to start off, though.
Yeah, of course, another Mysterious Tail. This is a new Mew. New Mew popping in here. So 6 cards. Oh, there we go. Battle VIP Pass. Exactly what you want to see specifically on your first turn, because that's the only time you can use it. Otherwise, it's just discard fodder for you. But hey, it's going to have a ton of utility here on this first turn for Cameron. Going straight very quickly, as you can see, for that VikaVolt V, and of course that beneficial Radiant Greninja.
And he's got a couple Water Energy in the hand, so he can pretty freely just ditch one with the concealed cards. And worst case scenario, he has Quick Ball, so he can go find the Melanie off of a Lumineon V.
Very, very nice. Yeah, Melanie huge for this deck. You have to find a way to double attach to this VikaVolt here, and that is one way to do it, attaching a Water Energy that is flawlessly played off of that Radiant Greninja onto a V Pokemon, and you also get to draw an additional 3 cards, so giving you some draw support too.
Quick Ball, I think this is smart, is going to discard Raikou instead of the Water Energy. Players might think, oh, why don't you put the Water Energy in the discard pile? You can use Melanie with it later. That's because Cameron wants to hang on to it so he can use concealed cards on the next turn in order to see a couple more.
That's a really good point, Chip. You want to draw cards in your deck, that's for sure. And here we go, the other pieces to the puzzle here for Cameron that we often see in this VikaVolt deck. That Lumineon V taking out the Melanie out from the deck off of that Luminous Sign ability. Melanie's coming into play here, attaching that Water Energy to that VikaVolt. Plus 3 cards for the hand.
Needs to find a Lightning Energy, and did find the Energy Search. So that can guarantee that piece, but does Cameron have a switch card in the hand? And I don't think he does.
No way.
So there's no way currently to get this Mew out of the active spot.
Oh.
I think Cameron's only option is going to be to try to thin the hand down and go for Crobat. if he wants to try and draw. But there's so many cards in this hand. I think it's going to be a Crobat for just a couple of cards. I don't even know if he can thin this hand down much at all.
Yeah, I mean, really, you have Quick Ball, and it's going to, there's nothing. I mean, you'd have to burn a lot of resources.
Yeah, he can get down to 4, I think, so we could see a Crobat for 2 cards.
That's risky, though.
Yeah,
but
Cameron
I mean,
has to ask, is that even worth it?
I was about to say, do you sacrifice the resources to potentially get that air balloon or pivot card? But I don't know. Do you think it's worth it, Chip?
It may be. It is so vital to item lock this
true.
Lost Box deck before Azul has a chance to play a bunch of Colress, play some more switching cards, and get to that Mirage Gate. If Azul can play Mirage Gate before Cameron is able to get up and item lock, Azul's going to be in a really strong position. I mean, we see that Snorlax is already in Azul's hand, so he'll be able to potentially get that into play through some scoop-up nets and things like that. But, yeah, if Azul can get off a couple Mirage Gates, well, it's going to be awkward.
Here we go. The Crobat is being drawn out here off the Quick Ball, discarding that Mew into the discard pile. So let's see if it is played and what is drawn off of it for Cameron.
He can put down another VikaVolt V if he wants to as well. Needs to thin a couple cards out here.
Yeah, that's a lot of cards in hand still.
It's going to be the Raikou instead of the VikaVolt here. And it's just 1 card being drawn from Crobat.
No way! Crobat V, let's go. What's this 1 card? We need a switching effect.
That's not it. Yeah, just a pass. That's a huge sigh of relief for Azul. And he's got a few options here. If he can get to Mirage Gate, we could see a play where Azul uses that Moonlight Shuriken, spreads some damage onto both Lumineon and Crobat. Those are both Pokemon that, with just 2 Moonlight Shurikens, would be KO'd. Azul could set up for a 4-prize turn. And let's not forget, Sableye could come in at some point to spread some damage as well.
Yeah, that is something we didn't really mention being weighed there. You know, these Pokemon that are going down onto the bench to put the puzzle pieces together are also liabilities on your bench, especially against Azul's deck here. So that is an unfortunate series of events. Cameron was not able to get what was needed to item lock this turn, and now Azul has another opportunity to run away with this potentially. 3 cards now in the Lost Zone and rolling into a Colress's Experiment as well.
Yeah, the Battle VIP Pass is an easy choice. We'll send that to the Lost Zone. The hard choice is between Colress, Boss's Orders, Ordinary Rod, and Mirage Gate.
Oh, wow. Very important cards there, Chip.
And I think it's going to be the Colress hitting the Lost Zone. It's a tough call. You don't want to lose your Boss's Orders. You only play 1 of them. Ordinary Rod is vitally important, and Azul has prized a Mirage Gate as well. So all of those things considered, it seems like Colress is going to be the thing to go.
You hate to see it, the Colress, but hey, sometimes that's the best choice that you have to make. So here we go. 5 cards now for Azul in the Lost Zone, debating off this flower, selecting the Bird Keeper or the Lightning Energy.
Bird Keeper or Lightning Energy. Bird Keeper, of course, works like the Colress's Experiment, you know, when you don't have a Colress, right?
Yeah,
Get you between a few Comfey.
B-rated Colress.
But Energy are very important in this deck, and Azul's already got a Water down there. The Lightning would allow him to attack with Zeraora pretty soon, so I think with that being considered, he chooses to hang on to it.
Yep, there we go. Bird Keeper hitting that Lost Zone. Scoop up nets.
That is going to be the 4th scoop up net, so we'll have to keep that in mind. Azul will not have any more scoop up net for the rest of this game.
Yeah, there was definitely some hesitation there too, like, oh, do I use it now? And yep, it's going to be used there. That Comfey is coming straight out of the active position, switching into its buddy here, and we're going to see another flower selecting. Like we've said plenty of times, we need to get to that Mirage Gate here. 6 now in the Lost Zone. This is tough for Cameron to be looking at because Cameron was so close to stopping so many item cards from being played out of his hands, but now Azul is just free roaming here.
Azul uses concealed cards here, can get 2, and does find Mirage Gate, but still not a way to add another card to the Lost Zone. He could Air Balloon into the Comfey he just put back into his hand. I think that's going to be his only option, but he's going to be bench locked if he did that. And I wonder if Azul is regretting his decision to put 2 Cramorant in play. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is very true. I suppose you prepare for the worst case scenario, but yeah, maybe some regrets here down the line. We'll have to see. I mean, these Lost Box decks are so difficult to pilot. It takes an extremely skilled player to to play them. It's almost impossible to not make mistakes. You're mapping out turns early game that happen that mean something way down the line in the game. So it's just difficult.
It's not uncommon to see a decision that you make on turn 2 lose you the game on turn 7. You know, every single decision is vitally important.
I wouldn't be able to live with the chip, that's for sure. That's why I don't play these decks. Let's just say that. Here we go, Air Balloon onto this Comfey, as we mentioned before. So it does give us the pivot option. Azul deciding what is going to be that last bench slot here. But we're going to see the Ordinary Rod first. So, of course, retrieving out any energy here and Pokemon. You're allowed to do both here. So 2 energy shuffling back in alongside that Dragonite into the deck.
And I think with this decision, that signifies to me that Azul is not going for another flower selecting. I think he would definitely go for that before putting these energies back into the deck, before potentially putting them into harm's way. So we are not going to see 7 cards in the Lost Zone this turn. We are not going to see a Mirage Gate from Azul. It may just be a Cramorant hit into the Mew for a prize.
Yeah, we might just see some spitting going on this turn. I guess the Cramorant's starting to get some utilization here from Azul at least. They're just taking up space on the bench right now, but hey, let's start spitting. Wow, that's so many scoop up nets. I just saw the discard. Well, it's kind of wild.
All of them.
Yeah, literally
as many
every
as you
single
could possibly have. Yes.
All right, here we go. The potential manual attach here onto that Zeraora. That would be the attach for turn, though. Of course, you only get 1 attachment per turn for each player.
I wonder if Azul's maybe thinking of benching Snorlax and attaching to it, but no, it will be Comfey. You do want to try to attach an energy every turn if you can. And wow, I'm actually kind of surprised to see this. We'll see the flower selecting now. Ends up not biting Azul, as he does just Lost Zone the Drapion. And that will get him to 7 cards, so we can see Mirage Gate now.
Yeah, maybe just wanting to play these item cards out. You don't want to be locked up and struggling later on. So here we go. That Mirage Gate is active. Of course, you have to select 2 different types of basic energy, and that's what we're going to be seeing here being applied to the board. Radiant Greninja, of course, getting that water, and then the Zeraora now online for that attack, that Fighting Lightning.
We could see a Mirage Gate being played once again. This would put most likely a Water and a Psychic onto the Greninja, prepping it to attack with the Moonlight Shuriken. But it will be an attachment to the Comfey, actually. Let that be a pivot for the next turn. That's actually really smart from Azul. His opponent cannot realistically get a 1-hit knockout on this Comfey. He could go for a Paralyzing Bolt plus Zigzagoon plus Zapdos, but with the bench being full from Cameron, that's realistically not happening.
Yeah, of course, Azul not able to retreat that turn because we already used the hard retreat per turn via that Air Balloon. So now we are just passing back over to Cameron's side of the field, starting off with the Trekking Shoes. Familiar card here for Cameron. And then we're going to go straight into that Concealed cards as well, drawing 2 more cards into the hand. Let's see what Cameron has to work with here. Let's see if we can make up some ground after missing that absolutely pivotal turn in the last turn. And Cameron is going very quickly, as we see now, because there's only 6 minutes, just under 7 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, this is, I mean, that's just the nature of Lost Box, right? Its turns take a while, and Azul is a great player who is going to consider all of his potential outlets in a game. So whenever that is both things being the case, Azul's not slow playing by any means. He's just playing his game as he should. It just ends up leading to long turns, and that's exactly what we saw from Azul. I mean, I think that was like a 7 or 8 minute turn on his end.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's just really how Lost Box functions, unfortunately. Another reason I do not play the deck, that's for sure. It is so hard on these clocks. But here we go, scoop up net on Cameron's side of the field. That Mew is coming straight out of the active position. Zapdos now in play, going to give an extra damage boost there for that VikaVolt V because it is an electric Pokemon. And here we go. Let's see what else we have from Cameron.
Yeah, Cameron.
Lost Vacuum.
That's a pretty good play. Yeah,
removing that Air Balloon.
Does add 1 more to Azul's Lost Zone, so it gets him closer to using Sableye later on. But let's be real, Azul's getting there pretty reasonably regardless.
Absolutely. 8 in the Lost Zone now. Of course, 1 for Cameron too, but not very applicable here. And then we are going to see that attack. So here we go into that Paralyzing Bolt, of course, doing 60 damage now because of that little Zapdos sitting on the bench here. So Azul back over on this side. 2 Mirage Gates were played last turn, which is great because they're not able to be played this turn. Of course, being item cards that VikaVolt is locking out.
Cameron does not have that Cape of Toughness on this VikaVolt now at this point. So Azul can actually set up for a 2-hit knockout with the Zera Aura and put pressure on Cameron to try to dig and find that Cape of Toughness card.
Yeah, that Cape, very essential to Cameron's deck. All right, here's the Colress. We have the Choice Belt, Training Court, and a Capture Energy kept off of that Colress's Experiment. Escape Rope and Sky Seal Stone hitting the Lost Zone there, bringing it up to 10 cards. Now 11 off that Flower, selecting another Choice Belt going into the Lost Zone here. So everything is unlocked as far as the Lost Zone requirements on Azul's side.
Yep, that should be up to 11 now in Azul's Lost Zone, so more than enough. We'll just group that up and
put some damage.
It gets a little ridiculous when these Lost Zones get above 10 cards. You start to see a great wall of Lost Zone going across people's fields.
It's funny when they do it in the center of the field too,
That's
and
my
it literally
favorite way to
walls
do it.
them.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm sure people who don't really know what's going on in Pokemon that tune in though are probably like, what is happening here? So always nice to have
I know about the active spot in the bench, but why are there so many cards just streaked across the field?
Yep, so just organizing them into a little collective there. Azul manually attaching here for that third energy onto that Radiant Greninja. Of course, that's going to allow it to attack with that Moonlight Shuriken, having those 2 water energy fueling that attack as well as the colorless there. And that's going to mean 90 damage here to 2 of Cameron's Pokemon, of course, having to discard 2 energy as well.
I think that the Crobat is definitely one. The question is, where did the other 90 damage go? Where does the other 90 damage go? And it looks like Raikou is the answer for Azul at this point. Puts it to 110, meaning that it can be cleaned up with a Cramorant later on.
Yep. Spit on and knocked out here. that is for sure. Here we go, back to Cameron's side. 3 minutes left, Chip. Of course, we have the rest of the timer, and then we will be in turns as well. It's going to be pretty pivotal depending on who lands on turn 0 to see how we can maybe close this game up. But this is a tough spot here.
Cameron's holding off on putting Speed Lightning in play. He puts that path down to try to slow down Azul. Doesn't want to put an energy in play because he wants to attack with another VikaVolt next turn.
Yeah.
And so he's waiting to get a free bench space and try to make that happen.
Yeah, it's really difficult as well. I mean, Cameron has yet to take a prize card here, but...
Yeah, things are really in Azul's court at this point, not only with just the amount of time left, but also really just as far as this game is going. There's so much damage in play. Cameron can't even realistically knock out this Zera Aura. Just has to deal 60 damage to it and set up for the 2-hit knockout, and that's going to lead to his own VikaVolt being knocked out.
Exactly, and that's the sticky situation you get to when you're playing VikaVolt. You just do not have a lot of damage output. You try to balance that with stopping your opponent or disrupting your opponent, but when you're not able to do that soon enough, you just get put into these situations, especially when you're playing against a 1-prize deck and you have yet to take a prize card and there's just not enough time.
The switch card is pretty nice. That will mean that VikaVolt cannot be 2-hit KO'd by Zera Aura. Cameron will use the cross switchers to bring up the Cramorant, and that is enough to take a knockout. No, Cameron, don't draw from your deck. No, Cameron. Oh, man. And
there we go.
Cameron, he understands the situation. A simple mistake, but...
Azul tried to stop him, too.
Yeah, that's... You hate to see it. A little bit of a spaghetti fest there at the end, but, oh, man, I feel like Azul was in a good spot regardless.
I totally agree with that as well. Azul just handled that all perfectly here. Cameron kept up with the games, had such a fighting spirit. I mean, we even saw the dig and the Crobat for one to try to get that VikaVolt off, but things just did not go Cameron's way. And just after an unfortunate series of events, Azul Garcia Griego is going to be taking the win there on that round 13.
Yes, this will mean Azul just needs one more win to lock up a spot in top 8. He's made top 8 at the Oceania International Championships before, so I'm sure he'd like to, make that accomplishment a little bit better. Of course, he is the North American International Champion, but there's something to be said about making a push for each of these ICs.